Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel today. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you stay updated to all the latest videos that I'll share on this channel. Today I'm sharing something that I wish I'd known before moving to Canada. Whether you are new or a potential international student, these insights might help you to adjust your life smoothly in Canada. So join me as I break them down. About 2 years ago, I moved to Canada from Ghana as a student to study at the University of Winnipeg, that's in Manitoba. Having previously visited over 20 countries and backpacked across Eastern Europe once in winter, I figured life in Canada would instantly feel cozy and familiar. How wrong I was. Moving to Canada and acclimating to life in this land of genuinely polite and progressively people involves so much more than getting a visa and arriving. Here is what I wish I'd known about living in Canada before I boarded the flight from Accra, transiting through Amsterdam and Minneapolis just to get to Winnipeg. First up, Canada truly has 4 seasons. Unlike many places where the weather don't change drastically, Canada's seasons are very distinct. That's, you have the fall, winter, spring, and summer. And all these seasons are actually distinct. That winter coat that you decide to purchase in your home country, and I know most potential newcomers listen to me coming from the tropics can relate to this. You buy the coat and you get here only to realize that that coat is actually useless. So my one advice I always give people is buy just enough just for you to learn. When you get here, you can go shopping to buy possibly the jacket or coat that's rated for the temperature in the city that you are going into, because that's the only way you can stay warm. So my advice here is be prepared for each season and layer up in the winter. Enjoy the beautiful spring and fall and soak up the summer sun, because when it's summer, you will need to enjoy it. In Canada here, summer is everything. And speaking of summer, you realize that summer is everything in Canada. And as I'm talking, we are coming out of summer. After enduring a long, harsh winters, Canadians make sure to make the most of their summers. So be it the parks, beach, outdoor festivals, everything is buzzing about life and everybody is trying to make the most of it. For those of us more used to tropical climates, it may not seem warm enough to warrant shorts and sandals on the May long weekend. But trust me, Canadians have earned the right simply for surviving another winter. And if you survive another winter here, you will see why it's important to enjoy the summer. Number 3 is the sticker price is just a starting point. What do I mean by that? When I say sticker price in Canada, the price that is advertised is what I mean by the sticker price. When you enter a store to buy anything, that price that they've quoted on the item is just the starting point. In Canada, sales tax is actually added at the register. So the price you see is not the price you pay. And I've seen a lot of people have the shock of their life, pick an item off the shelf, ready to pay. You tell them the actual price and you see their eyes get wide open because they did not actually add the sales tax. Because where they are coming from, the advertised price is actually what you are paying, because the tax is actually included in it. As a new migrant who is moving to Canada, this is something that you have to be aware of. If you decide to buy anything, make sure you know the sales tax that is taxed in the province that you are in. For Manitoba, it's 12%. So any amount that is advertised, you have to add 12% to it. So if you are getting a cell phone plan and they tell you that it's $100, you need to know that the bill that's going to be sent to you is going to be $112. So make sure you factor that one into any of your planning and at least educate yourself on the 6 stars in the province that you are going to, because it will go a long way to help you to plan your finances before you get there and even after you get there. Number 4, in Canada, if you don't say sorry, trust me, you will be sorry. In Canada, politeness is key. You will hear people say sorry a lot, even when it is not necessary, because it is part of their culture. And before me personally, before I moved here, it was something that I heard, but I got here and realized that really, yeah, it's actually true. The stereotype of Canadian politeness is as real as the maple syrup is sweet. Like most things in life, however, that politeness isn't unconventional. Learn to be liberal in your use of sorry, thank you, may I, excuse me, and please, and you will receive all these courtesies in return. Unlike in many parts of the world, these necessities don't necessarily signal a desire to be friendly. They are simply a social standard indicating that you see the other people as your equal. Canadians are naturally friendly, but the fact that the person is using these words, he's just been trying to be courteous. So if you are moving here and you are not comfortable with these words, my advice is it is time to start rehearsing them. Adapt to the habit of apologizing in social situations to blend in with the local customs. So learn these words because it's going to be key for your integration in Canada. This is one of the things that personally I didn't know before I got here. Number 5, I would say healthcare is publicly funded, but not everything is free. Before I came here, I remember people were telling me that in Canada, healthcare is free, healthcare is free. And I'm like, oh, nice. We are going to enjoy free healthcare. Canada, healthcare is publicly funded, but not everything is free. Some services like dental care, prescription medication might not even be covered by the insurance that you have. And even if you don't have those extras and you decide to rely on the publicly available one, you get there to a shock of realize that not everything is actually covered. So as much as healthcare is publicly funded, not everything is free. And even when it comes to that one, as much as you work in there, the doctors will actually take care of you. It can take you a very long time even to get the benefit of seeing a doctor. I had a shock of my life where sometime last year I had to be rushed to the emergency department because I felt like, oh, I'm not feeling so well and I need to see a doctor. In my mind and where I come from, when you say emergency, you get there and there will be a doctor ready to take care of you. I got to the emergency department, got there, went to try it. They asked me to put in my information and all that. And the first thing the person said was, just booking you into emergency is going to cost you $1,073. I was like, who is going to pay for that one? Not me. But I felt the need to at least make sure that I see a doctor. I had to sit in the emergency department for 5 hours before I saw a doctor. Even though, to tell you, after the doctor came in, I felt that the $1,000 that they were charging was actually worth it because the amount of care that I got, the kind of machines and checks that were done on me, I felt the $1,000 was actually worth it. But it took me 5 hours to even see a doctor. So as much as it's publicly funded, it is not easy sometimes to get the care that you actually need. It's something that you need to also be aware of if you are moving to this country. Even if you are moving here as a permanent resident, it could take several months possibly for your healthcare benefits to possibly to kick in. It is a good idea to arrive with at least possibly 6 months of international health insurance as a buffer, just in case you need it. And my advice is always understand what is and isn't covered by the health insurance that you are on. Number 6 is understand that Canada is really a cultural mosaic. Canada is actually made up of people from different parts of the world. Diversity is actually celebrated here. So you realize that you come here and you find out that Canada is actually an immigrant country where different people from different countries are here. So you might not actually have one particular group either dominating or be more than the other people based on where you find yourself. Even in corporate world, you have different people from different backgrounds in the same workspace working together. Even on the bus, you find yourself in the midst of other people. Just take a bus in Winnipeg, subway in Montreal and Toronto, or even a SkyTrain in Vancouver, and you find yourself surrounded by people from all over the world. Multiculturalism is a fundamental to the Canadian identity and plays an important part in the country's politics. What this means to somebody moving to Canada is that you are likely won't feel the need to fit into a particular cultural mode as you might be in your home country. More than 40 of the MPs currently sitting in Canadian Parliament were not born in the country. Provincial governments and municipal councils make room both logistically and financially for the celebration of their people's spectacular diverse cultural heritage. So if you make the decision to move to Canada, my advice is be open to experiencing and respecting different cultures. And whilst you are here, participate in cultural events, try new cuisines, and learn about your neighbors' backgrounds, because it might be a way for you to experience the whole world in just one place. Number 7 will be get into the habit of tipping. Tipping is customary in Canada, especially in restaurants and for services like haircut, taxis, any form of service that is provided. You are expected to tip, to the point that now even when you get to self-checkout, the machine is asking you to tip, and you ask yourself, who are you tipping? Are you tipping the machine or who? And it has gotten to the point where now some restaurants, you see them even covering the no tip feature on the machine when they pass it to you, because they are expecting you to tip. And if you don't tip, people will start looking at you side eye. Tipping in Canadian restaurants, salons, and taxis isn't just appreciated, it is actually expected, along with a thank you, of course. Just like I said, they are expecting you to say thank you even after you tip. This may come as a shock to you, not to mention an additional 15 to 30% on top of your bill. So if you are coming from a culture where tipping isn't a standard practice, remember that in Canada, this thing is something that is heavily ingrained in the Canadian culture. So if you are moving to Canada, just remember that tipping is going to be an expense that possibly you have to plan for. It might be between 15 to 20% of the bill in the restaurant that you go to eat, or even the service that is provided to you. Number 8 will be picking up where you left off isn't easy. Some of us came in with a plan, others came in because they are on a sabbatical. They will tell you that I actually came in on a 1-year sabbatical, so I'm taking some time off work. But there are others who came in with that expectation that possibly they can start off from where they left off back home. But you get here and realize that picking up where you left off is not easy. My advice to most people is to remember that when you enter Canada, it's like a hockey stick where you need to go down before you shoot back up. There's been few people who land and just cut straight to where they left off back home, but not everybody has the same experience. You need to remember that starting fresh in a new country means that it might take time to back to where you were career-wise or even socially. And also remember that resuming your professional career in a new country is likely the biggest challenge you'll be facing moving to Canada. No matter how extensive your qualification or professional experience is, having your credentials recognized in Canada marketplace is going to be very difficult. My advice is bring as much documentation as possible, be it transcripts, documents, certifications that you think might go a long way to help you to get yourself recognized. Bring them along when you are coming, and also make contacts with people in your professional network so that they can help you before you immigrate here. They can give you an idea of the things that you need before you even land. Number 9, that for me it was new before getting here, is you need to know that you might have to prove that you are roadworthy again. In Canada, when you come in here, there are few countries that can easily exchange their driver's license for the Canadian one. Outside those ones, everybody is expected to retrain and at least certified again when it comes to getting a driver's license. And for most of us, we are required to now hand in our driver's license, get a learner's license, practice, write a test, and come back to be retested before we are given a full license again. Unless you don't bring a license from back home, you might have to start afresh and have to test for maybe 9 months before they can allow you to retest again for a full license. My personal advice to everybody is, if you can drive, make sure you get a driver's license. Number 10 is you pay through your nose for your phone. In Canada, when it comes to cell phone plans, compared relatively to other places, cell phone plans are not cheap. Cell phone plans can be expensive compared to other countries. Canadians pay some of the highest wireless prices in the world. Unlike other parts of the world where pay-as-you-go or prepaid plans are commonplace, especially as for most of us coming back from Africa where pay-as-you-go is commonplace, in Canada, to get the best value, you might have to be under contract or even a pay monthly plan. Most mobile phone plans in Canada are purchased on contract basis. This, combined with the hefty telecommunication tax, can make sometimes staying connected a major line item on your monthly expenses. My advice is, if you come in as a newcomer, one, make sure that the phone that you are bringing in is something that can at least work in Canada. I've seen people come from West Africa with different kind of Chinese phones, only to get here and find out that he cannot even connect to the Canadian network, and they need to either buy a new phone or possibly sign a new contract to get a new phone. And also, when you are getting a cell phone plan, make sure you ask all the right questions to understand exactly what you are paying, because most of the first bill that you will get will come with a connection fee, which some people might be able to waive, others might not be able to do that. But at least ask all the right questions, because the first couple of weeks that you are here, any new line item on your budget is key. So you want to make sure that you don't spend so much when it comes to cell phone plan. There are cheaper plans out there, but for some of them, relatively, it becomes expensive in the long run. So make sure you ask all the right questions when you are getting a cell phone plan or even getting a mobile phone. Number 11, that I would say for me, I realize since I've been here, is leave all your prejudices behind. Canada prides itself on being inclusive and tolerant. It is important to leave any prejudices behind. Canada is the antithesis of a class-based society. Whether you work as a street meat vendor, a teacher, or the CEO of a company, you are all entitled to the same rights and freedom. It is part of a larger blanket expectation of mutual respect, regardless of race, sexual orientation, or faith, that Canadians enjoy. A freedom to be that's incredibly liberating to anyone whoever found themselves persecuted or threatened in their country. That's why you have a lot of people moving here to claim asylum, because in Canada they believe in equality. No matter who you are, everybody is actually equal. And I've seen a lot of people have to unlearn some stereotypes and embrace a more open mindset after they've landed here, because they realize that even though back home different people were treated differently, here everybody is treated and expected to be treated the same way. So no matter who you are accorded the same respect. Number 12, Canadian banking is bonkers. Seriously, Canadian banking can be very confusing with its fees and regulations. I remember when I landed and I was trying to open a bank account, and I had to book an appointment and wait for 2 weeks. I was like, really? I'm opening a bank account to put money in it, and I have to wait 2 weeks to get that? I went to different banks, and it was the same thing. Because guess what? The time that I was coming in, a lot of our students were landing. So there was demand for bank accounts. Me personally, one of the things I had the hardest time wrapping my head around upon arriving or moving to Canada was the notion of paying a bank to keep my money, which was serious. I'm like, where I come from, if I'm keeping the money with you, you have to pay me interest. But here, sometimes you have to pay the bank to actually keep your money. There is something that they are calling negative interest. Needless to say, it is the only way for you to establish a credit history when you land in Canada. So one, open a bank account when you land here. Make sure you have a credit card so that you can build that credit history, and it will be essential if you plan to buy things like a house or any other big thing on credit. And sometimes, even when you are renting a place, they might want to check a credit history to see that you are credit worthy. And also, one thing you have to also be aware of, Canadian banks often add a service charge to debit transactions as a further incentive for you to use credit cards. So basically, if you are using your debit card, they actually charge you for using it. This, combined with sometimes high introductory credit limits, makes it easy for some newcomers to spend beyond their means and fall into the debt right after moving to Canada. So consider yourself warned before you land here. Make sure you plan accordingly, get a bank account, get a credit card, and use it wisely whilst you are here. Number 13 that you have to also be aware of is repairs are rare. So things like repairing your shoe, having somebody to sew some part of your shirt that is torn, some of those things are very rare in Canada. So as you are coming here, if you can learn how to sew, trust me, it will go a long way to help you to make some savings. Because sometimes sewing that shirt That is torn might cost you more than maybe getting a new one. If you are coming here, this is something that you have to be aware of. Getting things repaired like electronics, appliances can be costly and sometimes time consuming. And sometimes if you have some of these skill sets before you land here, you can avail yourself for some people in your community, and that can be a side gig for you to make an extra bag or here or there whilst you are doing your day job. We have people who know how to sew, who will tell you that, yeah, you can bring your shirt for me to sew for you. I will charge you maybe $10 instead of sending it to that seamstress across the street who is charging you maybe 30 or 40 just to touch up on your dress, because that person is actually coming from the same culture as you. So if you can learn some of these things, one, beyond just helping you to save, it can help you to also make some money before you land here. Number 14, no one likes a show off. Canadians are generally modest and don't appreciate show-offs. While being rich is never going to be unfashionable in this world, the extravagant display of wealth that are admired in places like Ghana will likely make Canadians roll their eyes. And since being here, I've seen and met people who are actually rich. We've seen some crazy buildings, some crazy cars, and you see people that you can tell are rich, but you will never see it on them. Here, being flashy doesn't automatically earn you the respect of others. In fact, it's more inclined to come off as being bragging. It is not to say Canadians don't dream of wealth or find it motivating. They just tend to be more modest about it. A fact which dovetails nicely into my next observation, and that is Canadians might be more private than you are used to. Canadians value privacy and may not open up immediately. This is something that most people find out and they are like, how can you be friendly and still be private? Trust me, you can meet people that can be open up to you, be friendly, but still be very private about themselves. While Canadians have a well-earned reputation for being friendly and polite, immigrants often find them to be very private, almost withdrawn in comparison. Even amongst friends, there's a level of formality between Canadians that takes some time to get used to. The social conventions that some of us take for granted, like showing up at a friend's house to hang out at a moment's notice, insisting guests eat at your home cooked food, and being incredibly open about their personal lives, may seem rude and overbearing here. So here, unless somebody is actually inviting you to their place, you don't have to actually show up at their door uninvited. Because if you are not careful and show up, that person might not even open their door to you because they are not expecting you. Be patient and remember that the hallmark of a good friendship are relative. Just as the weather and geography in Canada is different, the emotional landscape is different as well. So knowing all this, try as much as possible, not just go and start telling your whole life to people just because you met them, or even in the workplace. Be mindful of who you tell and what you tell people, because sometimes, even though that person might not be listening to you or trying not to be friendly, that information can end up being used against you in the long run. So my advice is, if you go to work, treat your people at work as workers. Don't see them as your friends. They are not your friends. Don't go opening up to people because they are just being friendly towards you. People can talk to you and open up, but still be private about their life. So the earlier you can adapt that lifestyle, the better it will be for you to integrate into the culture here. If you want to meet somebody, make sure you ask the person before you show up at their door. Even if you are from the same culture as that person, there's no need showing up at that person's door uninvited unless they are expecting you, because people who move here always end up adapting the culture here, and they are expecting you to also abide by that same culture and be respectful of their spaces. And there you have it. These are some of the things that I wish I knew before moving to Canada that I felt I should share with you. I hope these insights can help you navigate your new life that you are planning in this new beautiful country, even before you move here, to help you adapt accordingly. If you have any questions or experiences to share, drop them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like or share this video and subscribe for more helpful content. Thanks for watching. Until the next video, cheers.